Hey guys, Joe from the Crazy New York Driver Show. It's Friday night, March 21st, 2014, approximately 8 o'clock. And tonight we're going to talk about eBay hassle-free returns. You may recall a few months ago I did a video about eBay managed returns. Hassle-free returns is the new name that eBay calls this process, and it's changed because you may remember what we talked about last week, the new seller standards that eBay is implementing in a couple of months. And because of that, this is even more important to discuss because things have changed and they will affect every single one of you that sells on eBay. Let's get started. Firstly, I would like to thank Griff, otherwise known as Jim Griffin from eBay. He is a big proponent of the hassle-free returns, and I was talking to him about it in the Facebook group the other night, and he came up with some interesting screenshots that I would like to share with you. This is Jim Griffin, and he is very big on the eBay hassle-free returns program. I will discuss both positive and negative aspects so you guys can make up your own mind. I'm here just to present the evidence, but I would like to give Griff a shout out for helping me out with a little research material. Let's get started. Let's start with the first screen that we're looking at right now. I'm going to read along with the screen and I'm going to be pointing out a few things with you. Let's look at two scenarios that show how the process works. The setup for scenario 1. Seller does not use hassle-free returns but will take a return. So right now you're talking about somebody like me. Buyer wants to return for one of 3 non-defect reasons. No longer want the item, found better price, wrong size, or item doesn't fit. Okay? First, the buyer clicks any of the contact seller links in either My eBay or the listing page itself. And you can see right there it is highlighted, contact seller. The next screen, the link takes him to the buyer to the screen where he can select item I received is not as described instead of the return option below it. For instance, what he's saying is, as you know, most buyer will always click item I received is not as described. It's happened to me and I'm sure it's happened to you guys. In scenario number 1, with no hassle-free return opt-in, the buyer selects contact seller from the drop-down menu, which you saw before. Then he selects item not is as described. eBay alerts the buyer that the seller takes returns and provides a contact seller link. Buyer selects yes, I got my answer, and attempts to contact the seller, or selects no, I want to contact the seller, or clicks to contact the seller link in step 2. But, now this is important, either way, the buyer is led to the next screen, which will open a case for Snag. This is what I was talking to you guys about last week. This is very important, and this is something that could hurt every one of us. Okay? This is the screen, of course, that he'll be looking at. And in this particular example, the person clicked, the problem isn't shown above, and then how can the seller help you? I would like to return the item for a refund. Now keep in mind, this will give you a defect, a permanent defect. Once submitted, the only way the defect could be removed would be if either the buyer or the seller escalates the case and there is evidence from the buyer that shows he or she wanted to return the item for a non-defect reason, otherwise the defect is permanent. So basically what they're telling you here, guys, is if you try and do the right thing and settle with the guy and say, okay, I'm sorry, I'll give you your full money back including shipping, you are going to be screwed with a defect. This is very important. Now, let's look at the second scenario where the seller is opted into the hassle-free returns and the buyer has selected the contact seller link instead of the return option from any location on eBay. Okay? So let's say the seller is opted into hassle-free returns. buyer selects contact. Okay? Now, this screen leads to this leads to a screen where instead of contact the seller link that opens an automatic Snag claim, it leads to this. The buyer selects contact seller from the drop down, which you saw. Buyer selects item received was not as described. eBay alerts the buyer that the seller takes returns and provides a return center link. Buyer clicks the return center link. This leads the buyer directly to the first step of the hassle-free returns flow, where they must select a return reason from the drop-down menu, which you'll see in the next screenshot. See right here? This is what your buyer would click on, the return center. Yes, I got my answer. And then he would click continue. Now, this is the money shot. It contains a clear link to the return center page where the buyer is provided with the 7 reasons for a return. The first 3 result in no defect whatsoever. Now keep in mind that they would result in a defect if you did not take hassle-free returns. The remaining 4 will still result in a defect. All right? Now, if the buyer clicks no longer want the item, found better price, wrong size or doesn't fit, you are in the clear. There'll be no defect. However, if he clicks missing parts or pieces, damage during shipping, item defective, or item expired, you will still get a defect. So guys, basically 3 out of 7 options will get you off the hook and 4 will still sink you. So my question to you guys is, do you think opting into hassle-free returns is a good idea? Right now, as you probably remember, I am not opted into hassle-free returns. However, I have to be honest with you. I'm thinking about it. But what concerns me is, let's say we're opted into hassle-free returns. Do you think that a buyer who misreads an auction and gets something other than what he thought he was getting through no fault of the seller will click no longer want the item, found better price, or wrong size or doesn't fit? Not always, but usually they try and push the blame on the poor seller. And that still concerns me. What I'd like to hear from you guys in the comments below, if you don't mind, is my first question: are you opted into hassle-free returns? If you are, could you please share some of your experiences, whether they're positive or negative, okay? Both sides are welcome to comment. I want to hear from both sides, all right? For you guys who are not opted into hassle-free returns, after seeing this little slideshow, do you think you will opt in? Because I'll be honest with you, I am thinking about it. But I like to make decisions carefully and explore everything. You may remember a few months ago I told you I was thinking about opting into the global shipping program. Well, after I examined that a little more carefully, and after a lot of you good people chimed in and told me some of your experiences, I decided against it. Okay? Simple as that. It's my privilege. But right now I am thinking about opting into hassle-free returns, and I would like to know your guys' viewpoint on that. In concluding, this is his last paragraph. Doing so, meaning opting in, will not only drastically reduce the likelihood of a buyer inadvertently opening a case, your buyers will love you for providing them a secure and easy way to return an item. But I should tell you that when you opt into hassle-free returns, in many of the cases, you, the seller, have to pay return shipping. That's important, okay? So keep that in mind. I have a couple of other topics I'd like to discuss tonight while I got you. A good friend of mine, who some of you know, Scott Henshaw, has put up a video, and I'm going to put a link to it below. As you know, eBay has unveiled a new store format where you can really make a nice fancy banner and advertise your store and really show off your internet prowess. Now, I know a lot of you people haven't quite done that yet, and quite frankly, I haven't either. One of the reasons I haven't done it is there's just never enough time. I'm telling you, if I do come up with a little extra time, I would rather use that to listing stuff on eBay or going out in the field and making purchases again to sell on eBay. I was out during the week at the junkyard again this week and scored a nice big haul. But Scott made a very good video about designing banners and how you can really give your store a cool spiffy look. So I will put his link below, and I invite you and I encourage you to click on it and watch his video. He's very informative and he's very helpful and one hell of a nice guy. In other news, eBay sales this week were good. No complaints whatsoever. I have been including notes with all my sales, like I talked about last week, telling people if they have any problem, just contact me directly. It's well within eBay rules, and in fact, eBay actually encourages sellers to send thank you notes to all their buyers. They would like to see sellers send thank you notes to all their buyers, so that's what I've been doing. I started it early in the week, and next week, if I think about it, I'll read one on camera and get your opinion on it. And I've already had a call yesterday where a guy bought an item that was wrong. And, I don't mind making exchanges. I said to him, no problem whatsoever. I'll give you an exchange. I didn't even hit him up for the extra shipping involved. But keep in mind, had he contacted me through eBay, even if I agreed to what I just agreed to, that would have been an automatic defect. So I just saved myself one defect. Not bad, right? All right, guys. I don't want to really take too much time tonight because I'm running way behind. But again, in the comments below, I'd really like to know your thoughts and feelings on the hassle-free returns policy. Have you opted in? Are you thinking about opting in? Are there any stories you would like to share with us? Because I'm sure we'd love to hear them. Also, if you have a chance, watch Scott Henshaw's video about designing a nice banner and logo for your eBay store. And hopefully in a week or two I'll get off my butt and I'll do one for my own store. And if you guys have any other eBay related items you'd like to chat about, comments below. Anything you want to talk about next week, comments below. The most important thing you have to remember is I'm Crazy New York Driver and you're not. Thanks for watching. Rock on, guys, and I will talk to you next Friday night.